So Tom yesterday talked about generative questioning and the importance of leaders asking good questions. But that's harder than you might think. So everybody should have either a blue or a red, looks like a name tag, not a name tag. What I would like for you to do with these is to write 3 things that you know a lot about. So for me, I wrote tennis, hiking, and running. I know a lot about those 3 things. So write 3 things that you know a lot about, and then stick it on the other side. Name tag one side. 3 things you know a lot about on the other side.
Yeah, that's kind of
I feel sad.
Okay, I'm going to illustrate what it is that we're going to do. So first let me explain what the instructions are going to be. You're going to pair up into groups of 2. So if you have, I have a red name tag, I would look for somebody with a blue name tag. If you have a blue name tag, look for somebody with a red name tag. Although, don't go for who's conveniently at your table. Get up across the room and somebody that you don't know, haven't met, or have just met. And then, if you have a red name tag, you'll play the role of the curious colleague. So you'll look at your partner's blue name tag. The blue name tag person will be the expert. And you're going to select one topic that most interests you. So James, can you come up here for a minute, please? Okay, so James is going to be the expert, and the 3 things on James' name tag are dog training, police work, and outdoor traveling. Okay, so I'm going to pick police work. I'm interested in police work. I'd love to learn more about police work. So if you have a blue name tag, you're the role of the expert. So James would be the expert. His job will be to facilitate a conversation with me about police work for 5 minutes. But James can only ask questions. No statements from James. You can only ask questions. But it's your responsibility to drive the conversation for 5 minutes, but you can only ask questions. Okay? So let's switch really quickly. I have tennis, hiking, running. Which one interests you? Hiking. Hiking. Okay. So my job would be to carry on the conversation. So I might start out with, what interests you about hiking? And then you would respond. Then my goal is to drive the conversation for 5 minutes just by asking questions. So if you're the expert, blue name tag, you're the expert. The red name tag is going to pick some topic on your name tag. Blue, your job is to only ask questions for 5 minutes. No statements, only questions. Got it? All right. So everybody stand up. Find somebody that you don't know very well with a different color name tag. And blue, you're going to be the expert. So we can get started. All right. All right. What is our natural tendency when somebody asks us a question, when somebody wants to know something that we know a lot about?
We are science-based. We tell them the answer.
Yeah. Tell them the answer. Okay?
Blabber.
Blabber? Okay. Our tendency when a conversation drifts to something that we know a lot about is to back up the dump truck and unload everything that we know on the person without any idea of what it is that they really want to know. And so it's really a self-centered conversation. So think about it in the classroom. When you're the expert in the front of the room, you know more about those topics than anybody else. When you unload everything that you know, how much of that is really connecting with the people that you're talking with? If you're backing up the dump truck, essentially they're feeling like, this person knows a lot. I don't know half of what they just said, and it leaves them to dig out and try to get air for themselves. What do you think the purpose of this exercise was?
You can teach with questions.
How so?
Good question.
I think it's remarkable that you can follow, you can answer their questions about what they're interested in, and you're imparting knowledge at that point through your questions.
Great. So you can impart knowledge through your questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a bias answering this because I'm a coach by profession, so I do this on a daily basis. But what I find really neat about this exercise, it reminded me of the power of asking questions, because then you are helping the person find the answers within themselves instead of telling them.
Very good, very good. Yes?
Being more connected with the person who you have conversation with, and really think about not like instead of dumping your knowledge to the other person, you really think actively what questions to ask to better connect with the person who you're having conversation with.
Very good. Generative questions create other-centered conversations, finding out what they're interested in and engaging them in an area that they want to know more about, and then also using questions to teach. So you can teach an awful lot using questions. Now, how many of you had somebody choose something on your name tag that they wanted to learn more about, but they knew nothing about it? A couple? Okay, how did you deal with that? What kinds of questions did you ask to open up the conversation?
Let's see, so the topic was lake surfing, and initially you mentioned, is this like behind the boat? And instantly I wanted to correct that because I had to ask questions, and so I'd ask, are you familiar with regular surfing? Are you familiar with how big of a body of water you need to surf? But it was certainly a challenge.
Okay. So did you see what kind of strategy he used to open up the conversation? What strategy did he use?
Just trying to gain her background. What did she know?
Okay, so you start with a specific question, then ask a broader question, and a broader question, and then maybe even a broader question until you can identify some point of commonality. And then you can figure out using your expertise to ask questions to find out what they know to then steer the conversation. So you can create other-centered conversations even though they may not know anything that you know a lot about. So the point of generative questioning is to create other-centered conversations rather than just dumping everything that you know on somebody else. It helps them and it gives them, which is why the exercise is called the golden shovel. The insights that people walk away with are the ones that they discover themselves, as opposed to the insights that you deliver to them. And so the value of generative questioning is giving the shovel to the other person, helping them dig for the insights, because once they discover that insight for themselves, they'll own it and they'll remember it. But if you just give them the insight and they don't have to struggle for it, or they don't hear themselves talk and process, it could very well just go right over their head. So this is part of doing this exercise at the beginning is to get everybody up, moving around, and to shake out the cobwebs. And the second reason is to frame the point of the day. We learn most by the questions that we ask, and by the questions, we learn most about others based on the questions that we ask, and we create other-centered conversations, which also fosters a greater degree of connectedness. So thank you very much.